It's time, Fort Wayne. Your sports, your station. It's the Sports Rush with Brett Rump.
Max Landis.
Covering all the topics that hit a nerve here in the Summit City.
Clark goes 11 yards, touchdown.
Only on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Now here's your host, Brett Rump.
The greatest, most interesting, most important person of all time.
You are incredible! Over on one. Yeah, well, you're half right.
What is this, amateur hour?
This is going to be huge.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Just when I think you said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
That boy ain't right.
The simplest way to put it, I have problems.
Welcome to the alleged show.
Here we go, taking you home on a Tuesday. It is the Sports Rush, your daily local sports fix, 4 to 6. I am Brett Rump, along with Adam Lundy. We've got you connected on the Parkview Sports Medicine text line at 260-447-8500. Love to hear what's on your sports brain on this Tuesday afternoon. Big show. I mean, packed today up until 6 o'clock. Guest after guest after guest. Plenty of great topics. We've got Myah Epps, Homestead Junior. Just finished up her junior season. Unfortunately for the Homestead Lady Spartans, it find their season end at the regional. And Myah Epps decided to follow up the regional loss with an announcement that she is going to Louisville when she finishes her high school career next year. Also on the way, we'll talk to Eric Thornton from Norwell High School. His Lady Knights are heading to the semi-state, and we will be there. We've got coverage of Norwell versus Delta, starting things off at Huntington North at 10 a.m. this Saturday, as the semi-state format, much like the old regional format, with games at 10 and noon, and then a championship the same day at 8 p.m. And after Norwell takes on Delta, then it's Columbia City taking on Highland. And we'll be there for the NE8 doubleheader with Norwell and Columbia City, both in action in Class 3A semi-state this Saturday from Huntington North. It's our high school basketball games of the week, presented by Parkview Sports Medicine. Also on the show today, former major leaguer, former Norwell Knight, and now a member of PSM Baseball Academy. Josh Van Meter is going to join us before this show ends at 6. I don't know how we got it all packed into a 2-hour extravaganza. We were able to do it, and we've still got Tuesday time capsule trivia because we're going to give away a pizza to Pizza Hut. Our friends at your local Fort Wayne Pizza Hut restaurants will do that just after 5 o'clock. But, boy, what a day. What a day.
What a show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to having all of our guests on and a lot to talk about.
And I'm looking forward to text today. Plenty of text. So if you've got anything on your mind, questions, I know the big subject right now is who is going to be the next coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. We talked about it yesterday. We'll bring up a couple of names that have been thrown my direction since we talked about it yesterday. But who do you think is going to be the next coach down in Bloomington? You can let us know that at 260-447-8500. What do you think about Purdue and their chances at getting a Big Ten regular season championship? What do you think about their chances tonight against Michigan State? Because I think those two things might just go hand in hand. I think if Purdue's going to win a Big Ten regular season championship tonight is pivotal. And it's on the road up at Breslin Center in East Lansing, Michigan. We'll have coverage of the Purdue Boilermakers and the Michigan State Spartans coming up tonight right here at 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. I think I've got everything covered.
Yeah, that's a long laundry list of things to get through.
Also, back off the All-Star break, Pacers return to Indianapolis. They're getting set to start their, quote, second half, which if anybody took a math class and passed it, you would know that it's really not the second half of the season after the All-Star break. It's more like the final third of the season or somewhere in that vicinity. And the Pacers getting set to start it up against a very familiar opponent with the Memphis Grizzlies coming to Indiana. It's the return of John Conchar. Last I checked, he did not get traded by the Memphis Grizzlies.
No, survived the trade deadline, did Mr. Conchar.
I will tell you this. Up to the trade deadline, the couple of games they had just before the trade deadline, he was not flying on the team plane.
Huh.
They were flying. They flew John Conchar separately because they were not sure if he would be with the team for the trip. Just an odd situation.
Yeah.
I think it's time for John Conchar to get out of Memphis. He had a great run in Memphis, but their rosters evolved to where he just doesn't have a significant role, and I think he can play a more significant role with someone else. The problem is, part of it is self-inflicted because the NBA is all about points and scoring, and it doesn't matter if you're efficient. I mean, you could take 10 shots to make 3, and if you score 10 points in a reserve role by taking 10 shots, you're probably still going to get minutes off the bench. Because that's what it's about in the NBA. It's all about the scoring. And John Conchar is not a scorer. He's capable of scoring, and he's had double-digit games, but he is primarily a distributor. He is a kind of a blue-collar guy that does the little things, gets hands on passes, gets hands in gaps. He can lead the break. He can distribute, get an assist or two. Great rebounder at 6'5". He goes up, grabs it off the glass, but not a scorer in the NBA. And part of that, I think, is his own fault because he just doesn't shoot it because that's not his game. He's a very, very humble and unselfish player, and I just feel like Memphis valued that when they had so many other scorers, but now they got a couple of guys that are scorers on the bench. And they're opting to go scoring. That's why Memphis right now is the number 1 scoring team in the NBA. They're playing for the offense. And unfortunately, if you decide you want to be the number 1 scoring team in the league and you got a guy on the reserve role who's not a scorer, he ends up being surpassed by someone who is a scorer. And so you just don't see as many minutes for Conchar. And so that in some ways, I'd kind of like to see him get out of Memphis, get a fresh start somewhere else. I don't think it would hurt him. Certainly, it's not going to hurt Memphis.
No.
But he is in Indianapolis to take on the Pacers, which is the start of the second round. And I guess he's not there yet because they don't play till Thursday, but he will be there because now the trade deadline is passed. He got nowhere else to go but follow the Grizzlies. Maybe he's got his spot back on the plane now.
And it's like you said, he contributes in other ways besides scoring, and that's unfortunately not what a lot of NBA teams are looking for, but it's worth mentioning. Every time he normally averages around 5 or 10 minutes per game, but when he does get more minutes, he really does contribute. I'm looking at some of his game logs here, and there's a game where he logged 23 minutes and grabbed 13 rebounds. A couple other games where he played just over 30 minutes and got 12 and 15 rebounds. So he really does crash the glass.
Well, the other thing, too, is he's a guy who has dealt with some, back soreness or maybe, a little bit of calf stiffness or things. And he said the one thing about the NBA, anything that's not 100%, and you're out for that night.
Yeah.
And so he's gone everywhere from starting games to not dressing to not playing.
Right.
And everything in between. I mean, he got cleanup duty in back-to-back games where he got like 2 and 3 or 4 minutes on a couple of games, but not really in the rotation. He got put in when it was a 20-point game over the last 4 minutes. But I'd just like to see him get more regular rotation where when you turn on the game, his team is playing, that you're going to see him in there maybe 3-4 minutes in the second quarter and maybe 3-4 minutes in the third or fourth quarter. That's what he was doing with Memphis for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden this year you have no idea if he's going to make it on the court, if he's going to play 20 minutes. You just don't know.
I feel like you kind of wished that Butler had been willing to go to Memphis because I feel like you would have liked seeing Conchar in the Miami Heat organization.
I would have definitely liked to see I was really hoping for that trade to happen.
I know you were, yeah.
That Memphis would pull the trigger on Jimmy Butler and that Conchar would be in Miami. Because then when I would go and make my South Florida visits, I could actually go watch a Miami game.
It's all about you down, huh?
Hook up, yeah. It's all about me.
I don't care.
Hook up with Conchar down at South Beach, hang out a little bit. I could enjoy an umbrella drink. He could enjoy a cola of his choice or whatever. But the bottom line is I do feel like Eric Spoelstra would appreciate what he does.
Yeah, I feel like it would be similar to like a Johnny Juzang kind of type player down there than what he's gotten out of them.
Yeah, I agree with whatever he just said. All right, so Pacers get set for the second half, and once again, we know that the Pacers have pretty much made a 100% commitment to this roster. Was that the right choice to stick with this roster for the stretch run? I feel like Indianapolis has become team run it back between the Colts, between the Pacers, and I feel like, why did no one take the chance with this Pacers roster where it's so deep and there's so many valuable assets that you could trade to pick up somebody? Why was nobody willing to pull a trigger and maybe get better? Because right now they certainly have a couple of weaknesses. One is defensively, they're not very good. They feel like they've got a, quote, stopper, but he's like all of 6 feet tall and Andrew Nemhard. You've got some youth, and if you could have found a younger player maybe to come in and be that defensive stopper, maybe not be a big scorer, but be a defensive stopper, maybe it wouldn't have cost you that much because, again, the value on a defensive stopper versus an offensive player is significantly different in the NBA. But the Pacers clearly not a great defensive team. And number two, the Pacers are a lousy rebounding team.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what Josh Hart did to the Pacers when they played the other night.
He just did all because he just went and got it.
It's called trying. Yeah,
he tried. The Pacers all stand and look at it, and Josh Hart's actually flying around going and getting the ball. I mean, it made the Pacers look really weak, soft, and unenthused. And Josh Hart was just better than they were. And those are two of the weaknesses for the Pacers, defense and rebounding. And there's plenty of players. I mean, they're so dang determined that Jarris Walker is going to become something. And it's like, when? How long do you wait? And is it really worth having a guy that you took? He was a lottery pick, I think, wasn't he?
He was high up there.
Yeah, he was like a 7th or 8th pick, and I'm like, how long do you wait for a lottery pick to actually look like they can be a regular rotational player? I'm like, at this point, I'm fine if they'd have moved on from Jarris Walker. You got Ben Mathurin. If he's healthy, I don't think you need Walker around, but they seem so committed. It's much like the Colts and Anthony Richardson. They are determined that they are going to stick with Richardson and they're going to make him an NFL quarterback. I don't know that that's ever going to happen, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen for Jarris Walker.
It also just kind of feels like the Pacers let that Eastern Conference Finals run last season just lull them into a false sense of security that they'd be fine for this season.
Yeah, they beat up on two teams that were half broke.
Oh, trust me, I know. Trust me. But,
one of them was your Knicks, but they got a break against the Bucks too.
They really did. But then they feel like, we got to the Eastern Conference Finals with this team. Let's do it again. But then the rest of the Eastern Conference gets better, and then you have the same team.
Yeah. So. Anyway, Memphis, very similar to the Pacers in some regards, although they've got a better record, but the number 1 offense in the league, they're number 22 on defense.
Yep.
And the Pacers, number 9 offensively, number 21 defensively. Of course, the Grizzlies have the trio of John Morant, Desmond Bane, who, by the way, is a Richmond product, so also from Indiana. Mm-hmm. Jake LaRavia from Indiana. I mean, you've got... Really, it's a homecoming for Memphis every time they get to play the Pacers because Jaren Jackson Jr. also makes his return to the Hoosier State.
Yeah, a lot of connections there between Grizzlies and Indiana.
That's coming up on Thursday. Tonight, Purdue looking to end their 2-game losing streak.
Man.
That's something we haven't talked about this year. 2 straight they have lost, with Michigan and Wisconsin both getting the better of the Boilermakers. And it leaves Purdue with their title hopes slipping. And the only way they reverse the trend is if they go up and win at Michigan State. And, of course, it probably wasn't a favor that Indiana beat Michigan State at Michigan State a week ago, because this will be the next home game for Michigan State.
And it's also like, if Indiana can beat them and Purdue can't, then Indiana's better.
Yeah.
Transitive wins. It's just silly. But, seriously, tough game tonight for the Boilermakers, and they're actually not favored. It's Michigan State minus 3.5 is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I think it was 2.5 earlier. So the money is coming in on Michigan State, and this is the first of 2 big ones for Michigan State this week because they will have to travel to Ann Arbor on Friday.
The cross-state matchup there.
And it could be for first place in the Big Ten.
Huge. Yeah.
It's Michigan State at Ann Arbor to take on the Michigan Wolverines on Friday, that special Friday night game that people that actually follow high school basketball don't get to see.
No, I mean, basketball Friday night.
And I'm sitting here making fun of it. Who plays on Friday? The Mastodons play.
And you'll be covering it.
And I'll be covering it. So I won't see it because I'll be covering our own college basketball team.
But we will have a high school basketball post-game show where you can catch up on all the area scores from that night. So we'll get you all caught up with what you missed.
Yeah, we'll still call it the high school basketball post-game show, not because it's after a high school game. It's actually after a college game. But we'll call it the high school basketball post-game show because we're going to feature mostly high school scores and previews of the semi-state, which takes place on Saturday. So after the Mastodons, about 9:15 or so, we'll send it to the Canterbury Pizza Hut for the Parkview Sports Medicine high school basketball post-game show. Be on the air till about 10:30. And then it's Bob Lovell. Yep. Statewide, he covers everything. High school, all the high school action on a Friday. He'll talk college basketball Pacers and some other stuff. But Bob Lovell with Indiana Sports Talk from 10:30 to midnight on Fridays right here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. But for Purdue, they've got to find a way to get the win if they want any hopes of winning a Big Ten championship. I just don't know that, you're running out of games.
Right.
And there's still a couple of games on the Purdue schedule you have to be concerned about. They have to go to Illinois.
Yeah.
They've got the rivalry game in Bloomington against IU. In some ways, you can throw out the records. It's a rivalry game. I don't think it's the same rivalry for the players, but I think for the fan bases, it's still considered a rivalry game. You've got UCLA coming into Mackey Arena, and you've got Rutgers at home.
And we've seen what Purdue and Rutgers has been like in the past, so there's another one.
And Ace Bailey could just go off and, and have a big, who knows?
Yeah, 35, 40 points.
And if you don't play defense, he might go.
Yeah,
he might go off. But anyway, Purdue, with just 4 games remaining after tonight, and then you look at Michigan State, Michigan, which is the team right now on top. They've got Michigan State twice, actually, in the last 2 weeks of the season.
That's an interesting schedule.
They backload the 2 games against Michigan. So Michigan State will play on Friday, and then they'll come back and play another, week and a half or so down the road. You've got Michigan going to Nebraska. That's no gimme.
No.
You'll have them at home against Rutgers. They will be home to Illinois. And they will be home to Maryland. 4 of the last 6 for the Wolverines will be at the Chrysler Center, and 3 in a row with Rutgers, Illinois, and Maryland. So in some ways, the schedule does kind of favor the Wolverines down the stretch. Couple of tough games, and no byes in there. Purdue's going to be on a bye after they play because they don't play for like another week and a half. But anyway, that's what's ahead in the Big Ten. Purdue tonight at Michigan State. We've got your coverage coming up at 7 o'clock right after the Mastodons Coaches Show. All right, let's find out what's happening in the world of sports. We got to check today's top headlines with Adam Lundy.
All right, thanks, Brett. Well, the Chicago Cubs are in agreement with free agent corner infielder Justin Turner on a 1-year, $6 million contract. The deal is pending a physical. Turner, 40 years old, split time between Toronto and Seattle last season, compiling a .354 on-base percentage in 139 games. He also hit 11 home runs while batting .259.
Wait a minute, Turner is still playing?
Yeah, and he's a Chicago Cub.
We gotta talk to Josh Van Meter when he gets on here. Say what's going on? They got these 40-year-olds signing contracts, and you're hanging up the cleats. What? Come on, Josh.
Come on, Josh. All right, Notre Dame has hired running backs coach Jawan Sider away from Penn State to do the same job for the Irish. Coach Marcus Freeman announced today. Sider had been the Nittany Lions running backs coach since 2018 and was promoted to co-offensive coordinator in 2022 and assistant head coach in 2023. One more for you today, Brett. Texans running back Joe Mixon won his appeal over a $25,000 fine he received following Houston's playoff loss to the Chiefs in the divisional round of the playoffs. Appeals officer Chris Palmer explained in his letter to Mixon that after going through the hearing process, he found that Mixon, quote, did not necessarily publicly criticize the officials. And those are today's top stories, Brett.
Oh, we've got a busy show. We've got Eric Thornton, coach of the Norwell Lady Knights, joining us in hour number 2. We got Josh Van Meter. Was announced today by Parkview Sports Medicine, a new baseball academy with PSM.
Yeah.
And guess who's heading it up?
Is it Josh?
It's next chapter of Josh Van Meter's life.
Awesome.
And so we'll get to talk to him about that. And we've got Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia. Up next, Homestead guard Myah Epps. It's all part of the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Coming up on the show, giving you a chance to win with Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia. We've got a large pizza to Pizza Hut on the line. We'll play Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia coming up just after 5 o'clock. Of course, over the weekend, not only did the Homestead Lady Spartans fall short against Hamilton Southeastern, man, that's a good Hamilton Southeastern team. Undefeated for a reason. And, and it was such a good season for Homestead. But it just shows how good HSC is. And they get the win over Homestead. And then on Sunday, the very next day after the loss to Hamilton Southeastern, we found out that Homestead's junior guard, Myah Epps, has made up her college decision. And this wasn't something where she thought, okay, season's over, I can focus on where I'm going to go to college, and boom, it's Louisville. It's actually something, I guess, from what I was reading, that she had decided earlier. She just kept it quiet until the season ended, so not to cause a distraction. And Myah Epps is joining us to talk about that very fact right now here on the Sports Rush. And Myah, you made your announcement, so congratulations on Louisville.
Thank you so much.
And did I get it right? As far as the storyline, you'd had decided, you told some of those in your inner circle, but you made it public on Sunday.
Yeah. So I actually verbally committed on January 3rd, and then, like you said, I kind of made it public on Sunday.
What was it about Louisville that was the reason you ended up committing to the Cardinals?
I think one of the biggest reasons was just obviously the people, like Coach Walls and their whole staff are just awesome people. They recruited me super hard from the very beginning and always made me and my family feel very wanted. So that was a big thing. And then just kind of the distance from home was a big thing too for me. I didn't want to go too far from my family because I'm always around them and I love them very much and I want them to be able to come to my stuff. So 3.5 hours from door to door is a pretty good distance for my family to be able to make it to all my home games. So, yeah, those were two of the main things that kind of swayed my decision making.
What was the process like? I always wonder with some of these colleges because they have different approaches to how they handle recruiting, and sometimes your primary contact is an assistant coach. Sometimes you have access to the head coach. What was your process like?
So originally it kind of started out talking with assistant coaches, and they really were, trying to keep contact through my director because obviously before that June 1st date of your junior year, you have to go through your director and other coaches and stuff. So it was a little difficult. You're talking to assistant coaches and just kind of trying to schedule calls and whatnot. But then, once June 1st hit and I played in a couple more live period tournaments, I started talking to Coach Walls. And, he started watching me play a little bit more himself. And so that kind of grew our relationship, just between me and him. But overall, I'm really close with all of them. I talk to everybody on their staff a lot. It's been cool. It's very similar with a lot of the other schools, too. You'll talk to some assistants and then the head coach, when they offer or maybe a couple times before or after. But, yeah, that's essentially how it was.
So what do you expect at Louisville? I'll be honest, seeing a lot of college women's basketball, to me, it's almost like you're a tweener where you'd be a big point guard, but you'd be a small forward. You kind of in between. The 3-point shot is, still part of your game. I think that you're probably working on improving, but where do you see yourself in a Louisville offense?
Yeah, so honestly, just like you said, a big point guard or even a two guard. I kind of started out my career playing the two. I never really played the point guard until I got to Homestead. So Coach Parker's obviously just giving me some insight on that and kind of made me a good point guard. So I told Coach Waltz from the beginning, I was I can play either one, the one or the two, since I have experience in both. And just seeing, like, Taj Roberts and Amani Berry and Jada Curry, like, they all are playing, like, kind of similar positions to where I would be at. So I like to watch them and kind of compare myself and compare my game to theirs and see kind of, like, what I can improve on, you know, to kind of play in those positions that they're playing in right now.
Okay, you can throw it at my face because I didn't mean it as any kind of knock about the three-point shot. But when I see you play, I think of you as more someone who likes to drive and attack the basket, someone that can pull up in the mid-range. And maybe it's something we just don't see because you got so many three-point shooters with you on the floor. But the three-point shot, is that an area you look to improve before you get to college?
100%, yeah, definitely something that I'm looking to improve, even for next year, let alone, like, especially for college. So that's definitely an area of improvement for me. But like you said, I also have a lot of shooters that I play with around my team, so I don't necessarily have to shoot the three all the time.
No, it's a tremendous team. And, you know, the nice thing about it is most of the team is going to be returning next year. Do you have any seniors? You had like one or two, but among the starting group, is there a senior?
There's one, yeah, Liv Fry. She was our only starting senior.
She was she a point guard?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, look at there. It's going to work out perfect for you, Myah. Next year,
Right.
you get all the experience you need at point guard. Boy, that worked out well. It looks like Delaney's going to play the two. You've got it all set for next year. But this year, falling short, how hard was that when you took that loss at the regional on Saturday?
It was definitely hard. It was a hard-hitting loss for us. It was very emotional. I think they came out and they punched us in the mouth, and you know we weren't able to recover from it. Like you said, they're a great team. They run their stuff extremely well. They play super hard. So, you know, I mean, it was a tough loss, but you know, I think you know they deserve with their undefeated record and all that. Like they definitely deserve everything that they're getting. So, yeah, I mean, it was hard, but it was good. Next year we got them for sure.
Well, I can tell all of our listeners that are not regular sports listeners, but they're tuned in just to hear you. Being punched in the mouth is not literal. It's an analogy. Yeah, it's a basketball analogy for when someone comes out and takes the game to you right away. So they were not actually playing dirty.
Right.
You got to, sometimes we're around the game so much, we got to remember that, for somebody that's tuning in and saying, oh, I want to hear Myah Epps and what she has to say. And sometimes it's like, well, they might not be a regular basketball fan. So, next year you're going to be off. What do you know what your summer plans are going to be? What type of events? Have you got some invites? I imagine Junior All-Stars. Is that going to be next?
Hopefully, I'm hoping so. We haven't heard anything officially, but that's the goal in around 2 weeks. And then for the summer, just playing AAU. I play for the Adidas circuit, so we have like 3 Adidas like live events. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a couple camps sprinkled in there, hopefully, that I'll be attending. So, yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, it was a delight talking to you. I think Louisville is very fortunate to have the commitment. And then what will it be, November, when you'll be able to sign?
Yep, November.
All right. Well, congratulations, Myah, and best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck with the off season, the Junior All-Stars, and everything that lies ahead. Appreciate you jumping on with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, that's Myah Epps joining us, Homestead Junior. Boy, really delightful young lady, huh?
Oh, yeah, fantastic personality.
You never know what you're going to get when you talk to a high school athlete. And I'm always worried we'll just get yes, no, yes, And she was delightful, very conversational, fun to talk to.
Seems very outgoing and definitely a good basketball player. So congratulations to her.
She got game too.
Yeah.
All right, so we will take a time out. We're going to come back plenty more before we get to 5 o'clock, and then we'll turn it over to Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia. I won this game big last week.
You did. And you guessed. It was a guess. Don't act like you knew.
I know. I got so lucky last week. That's all I could say. But we're going to give you a chance to pick up that large pizza to Pizza Hut coming up just after 5 o'clock. Also in hour number 2, Eric Thornton from the Norwell Lady Knights and Josh Van Meter. It's like our all Norwell hour next hour.
I was just going to say, we've got
How do we do that?
Yeah. Norwell, stick around.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't planned. It was actually the PSM Baseball Academy announced their plans, and Josh Meter is going to head that up. And we thought, yeah, we'd love to talk to him on the show here. So it just worked out that he got put into a slot right next to Norwell's girls coach, who I'm thinking, how long has Eric Thornton been there? He probably was the girls basketball coach when Josh was in school.
He probably was. It might be on that sheet that you have over there. And
yeah, he's been there 28 years. Yeah,
definitely.
I don't even know if Josh is 30. Eric probably could give us some scoop on Josh from his high school. Yeah,
all of Ossian is going to be tuned in hour number 2.
But we've got a big hour to wrap things up, and then at 6 o'clock, it's the Mastodons Coaches Show. And I can tell you, I've just got a special feeling about tonight, Adam.
All right.
Got a special feeling that this is going to be a really insightful show from both men's basketball coach John Kaufman, women's basketball coach Maria Marchesano. A lot to talk about. It's the stretch run of the Horizon League.
It's crazy, man.
It's Oakland coming to the Gates Center this Friday.
I feel like we're just around the corner already from conference tournaments, and then
Friday is going to be senior night.
Big dance coming up before you know it.
Senior night this Friday.
Wow.
How crazy is that? We're already to senior night.
Yeah, this Purdue Fort Wayne season is flown by.
It just, and it's a good thing in some regards because it does mean winter has passed us by, but
not today.
Well, not today, yeah, but means spring. Spring is not far away. Let's put it that way.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll take a break. Once again, our text line, the Parkview Sports Medicine text line, 260-447-8500, 260-447-8500. Questions, comments, or suggestions. Let us know what's on your mind, 260-447-8500. It is a Tuesday edition of the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
You're listening to the Sports Rush with Brett Rump on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Listen live at 1380thefan.com.
Coming up tonight, we've got the Purdue Boilermakers taking on the Michigan State Wolverines.
I love that school.
Yeah, I know. It's a new merger that's taken place.
Oh, every Michigan and State fan.
Spartans. Sparty just spit up his beer on his porch when I said that.
And if Mike Maz is listening, he's defending his Wolverines at the speaker right now.
But it's the Michigan State Spartans. That'll be at the Breslin Center, or will it be at the Chrysler Center?
We'll figure it out.
Maybe they'll play somewhere else. Oh, boy. Purdue, Michigan State, 7 o'clock tip, and we will have the broadcast immediately following the Mastodons Coaches Show at 6 p.m. Also coming up later in this week, we talked about the Memphis Grizzlies being at Indiana to take on the Pacers, and we'll have the broadcast of that.
Fantastic.
It'll be John Conchar watch. We'll listen. We'll see if John Conchar makes it onto the floor for the Grizzlies. But
hopefully.
Second half. Wink, wink. Not really half, but they call it half. So,
second,
one of those pet
third,
peeves. Yeah,
or the final third.
The final stretch of NBA. By the way, did you watch any of the All-Star game?
Yeah, I was really disappointed.
Somebody explain to me what it was all about. I'm still trying to figure out what the NHL is doing because I keep hearing about these USA-Canada games.
Yeah, the NHL,
and
man.
Canadians booing our national anthem. And then the other thing is my son was texting me about all the fights.
Yeah, there's fights. Yeah, so the Four Nations face-off
It's like we don't even need a military. We just settle all of our disputes on the ice and let Kachuk and whoever the other guy is go at it.
I guess, but that's going on in hockey right now. The Four Nations face-off. I know it's Thursday night in Boston. Is going to be the championship game between Canada and the USA.
So it's going to be Canada and USA.
It's going to get rowdy.
Yeah, because they went at it, and the USA won the game 3-1.
They did. That was part
on
of
Saturday, right?
Yep, that was kind of part of the group play of the tournament. So now it's all settled, and it's been determined it'll be Canada-USA rematch in the finals.
That's kind of fun.
That is fun. I like that. I didn't like the NBA All-Star game.
Now, did this event replace the All-Star game for the NHL?
No All-Star game this year.
Okay, so are they going to stick with this, or is this just a one-off that it was due for this year?
Yeah, I'm not sure. If anybody wants to fill us in on NHL All-Star
me and All-Star games.
They're your favorite.
Yeah, I had wiped them off my my TV, so I my TV won't even show an All-Star game because like 5 years ago,
controls on. Yeah,
I put parental controls that keep me from watching any All-Star game or even getting curious, and so I did not watch any of the NBA All-Star stuff. I tried a couple of times, and they weren't even playing. It was like commercials most of the time.
Right.
And then the NHL, I didn't have to watch. Because my son just kept texting me all night on Saturday or Sunday night. Was it Saturday night, Sunday night, whatever night that was?
Yeah, the NBA, they do their skills contest, dunk contest, three-point contest on Saturday night, and then they have their all-star, well, it was games this year on Sunday night. So. And
Max McClung, I guess, won again.
Yeah, Mac McClung, three-peated.
Is it Mac or Max?
It is Mac.
Mac?
He dunked over a car.
Does he play for the Michigan State Wolverines? I didn't follow any of it.
No, he actually had 3 fantastic dunks. He got a 50 on all of his dunks, including over a car.
I saw
impressive.
the highlights.
Yeah.
That's how I knew. I saw highlights on SportsCenter later that night, and so I figured he won. What? Now they didn't do the 3-point. The 3-point challenge, right? But did they do a 3-point contest?
They did do a 3-point contest with NBA players. That was won by Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat. They did not do that WNBA versus NBA 3-point shootout, which I believe you're referring to.
Did they do the skills challenge this year?
They did, and there was controversy in the skills challenge because
I saw somebody cheated. Chris Paul cheated.
Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama, who were the Spurs team for the skills challenge, they both cheated. They just chucked all of their entire ball rack where they were supposed to make a 3 instead of to try and get time quicker.
Right.
Instead of actually trying to make one
because
of the shots.
Because you get 3 shots, and you go to the next station when you make one, but they just took all 3 balls and just threw them off the rack.
Yeah.
And
they got disqualified for it.
Well, darn right they should have gotten disqualified.
Yeah, so that was the controversy during that.
Making a travesty of the contest.
I believe that was won by the Cavaliers team of Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell.
What about the game itself?
Oh, it was terrible. So, as you know, there was the format of 2 semifinals and then the final. There was 4 teams. There was 3 all-star teams and then the winner of the Rising Stars Challenge. So those 2 teams each played a semifinal to 40 points, and then there was the final to 40 points. Unfortunately, it was just not enough basketball, far too much just Kevin Hart being a goober with the TNT guys. I think someone did a graphic. It was like 2.5 hours of breaks and commercials.
It was. Every time I went to it, it was either a musical performance or a commercial.
Yeah, and like 33 minutes of basketball total. So it was a terrible night. If they do.
So that's got to blow up. You got to figure out a whole nother plan.
They should just go back to what they already had. It was better than this because it was just not enough basketball.
Man, that's really bad because what they had was embarrassing to the game.
And that was better than what they did, honestly. And it was sad because it seemed like with the format, it was starting to work at first, and the guys were starting to kind of get into it. But then the TNT broadcast and the production just kept interrupting it and disrupting the flow of the games. And it was also, I just thought it was really funny that there was this message that was out on social media saying the NBA is having a meeting with all-star players ahead of the games, encouraging and making sure there's a focus on taking the game seriously. And then during the games, you have
and then the broadcast has like Nickelodeon characters or something.
Well, yeah, literally during middle of the game, you've got Kevin Hart making the TNT guys wear like fishing outfits and doing just comedic things like that. So I don't know. It's just giving mixed messages.
Well, I was watching Sunday night. I watched the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live because I've spent most of my life on Saturday nights watching Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it is such a tradition and a staple that even though the show is not that good anymore and most of the skits are embarrassingly not funny, and maybe it's just me getting old, your sense of humor might change a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can tell you the best days of Saturday Night Live are far behind us. And so this 50th anniversary show comes up.
Sure.
And I'm thinking, they're going to bring back a bunch of the stars of the past. And I'm like, all the great characters, the wild and crazy guys, and all those guys,
Yeah.
It didn't work. Didn't really, they didn't do it for me. I mean,
no.
Meryl Streep made a surprise appearance in a skit. Apparently, she's never been part of Saturday Night Live on the regular show, but she did come back for the 50th anniversary special and played a role, which was the alien abduction skit. I thought there were some funny bits, but the funny bits were like old reruns or replays of older skits they have done where they brought back the characters. That's what I thought the whole night would be. But then they tried to interject some of the more current stuff into it. But I guess it didn't live up to what I was hoping for. I thought it'd be like 50 years of the highlights of my life where I would see some of the characters that would be brought back. Dana Carvey did not attend. Colin Quinn did not attend. They had some of the, Dan Aykroyd was not there. So some of the, and of course, a number of the former cast members have passed away. So I didn't get quite out of that what I was hoping to get out of it on Sunday night. So Sunday night was kind of a bust for me.
That stinks,
because, NBA didn't pan out to be anything worth watching. And then Saturday Night Live, little disappointed in what I saw there. Are you a Saturday Night Live watcher? No?
No, I can't say that I am, and did not catch the 50th anniversary. Obviously, I've seen some of the, the famous sketches.
We put you on assignment to watch the NBA event that night, whatever. I can't even call it an all-star game because it's more
tournament, all-star,
whatever they call it.
It was bad, man. And also just the fact that the games were going to 40. I mean, it was just over in like 5-10 minutes. It should have been at least 50 or 60 as the target score. So
260-447-8500. You can give us your thoughts on what you thought tonight. Purdue, Michigan State. And it's a big one for the Boilermakers. They got to end this 2-game skid. The one thing about it, it isn't so much about whether or not you win the regular season championship. But Purdue, to have any chance at that, they would need to win tonight. But I think what's more important is that you start to play some better basketball. And let's see how you respond to that thrashing you took against Wisconsin. Wisconsin put up 95 points at Mackey Arena against Purdue. How much pride is there in the Purdue Boilermakers, or is it a sign that this team maybe is getting fatigue?
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit. It's a lot of these main guys for Purdue have to play a lot of minutes per game.
A lot of heavy minutes. You've got guys like Fletcher Lawyer who, just doesn't have a big physical body. You wonder how much punishment he could take throughout the season. I noticed it when he was a freshman.
Yeah.
And you get to this point in the year. And believe me, basketball is a physical sport. It doesn't look nearly as physical when you're watching it on TV as when you attend the games. But I've talked about it with the Mastodons, that I thought the Mastodons, because they've had 2 or 3 opponents, Cleveland State played them very physical, Youngstown State very physical, Robert Morris very physical, and you've got guards that are 5'8", 6 foot, 6'2". So 3 guys that are somewhat undersized that are all on the court playing heavy minutes, and they're taking a punishment through the season, and I do think it wears them down. And when you look, and they've had 5 of their last 6 games where they've shot below their season average from the three-point line. And that's a big part of their offense, the penetration and the kick out. And then the fact that the officials that have been assigned have not blown whistles. Coach Kaufman will address this tonight. We'll talk to Coach Kaufman about the fatigue factor, about the physical play, and Jalen Jackson and Rasheed Bello and their performances of late, because Rasheed actually has been terrific. Jalen struggled a bit on Saturday. But Mastodons at the Gates Center this Friday.
Looking forward to that.
There is nothing like Division I college basketball in a 1,600-seat gym.
Oh, it's fun.
It is. It's a rare chance to see up close just how talented these players are. I mean, if you take kind of the best all-stars out of Northeast Indiana and you put them together in a game, you might be able to get close to the talent that you see in Division I basketball in the Horizon League. And you've got the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, who won a close one against the Mastodons up in Rochester, Michigan.
Yeah.
They're coming to town. Greg Campy, 41 years he has been the coach at Oakland.
Such a legend, man. Just how
legendary.
Legendary. Coaching almost twice as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, that makes me feel old too. But that'll be Friday night, and of course tickets are available.
Oh yeah.
Always a fun night at the Gates Center. It's going to be senior night, and quite a few seniors this year. Although a couple of the seniors have actually gotten extra years because of the new rules.
Ah, yeah, they can be super seniors.
Yeah, they can get that extra year, and so I'm not exactly sure who the list is going to include. I know Quentin Morton Robertson is definitely on the list. Rashid Bello.
Definitely some guys you'll want to get out there and see before their career ends with the Dons.
Yep, and it's a huge game for the Mastodons because right now they're stuck in that dreaded fifth spot. The one spot I said they want to avoid, and where are they at? They're in fifth. And guess what? Oakland could actually knock them to sixth.
Oh, man.
Because Oakland is one game behind, and all they've got to do is beat the Mastodons, and all of a sudden now you're talking about a race. I think they might be a game and a half behind. But the bottom line is I look at the loss column because everybody's got 3 games or 4 games left, and the important number's the losses. Because it's like, okay, if you end up with the same number of losses as that team, who holds the tiebreaker?
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens Friday night. We'll have the broadcast for you. If you don't make it to the Gates Center, we'll have the broadcast starting at 6:45. 7 o'clock will be the tip. And then after the Mastodons game, you've got the Parkview Sports Medicine High School basketball post game live from the Canterbury Pizza Hut. We'll take a break. Coming up, your chance to win with Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia. That's in our next hour. Taking you home on a Tuesday. It's the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.